Okay, so today we're talking about agent placement. You hear a lot about that term, and I want to kind of clarify and give you some idea exactly what that means. Here's what it means. When you go and take a freight broker training program, a lot of times what an agent says is, hey, once I finish the program, I want to go and work under the banner of an established broker. So what the broker does, who's giving you the training program, he says, okay, once you finish the training program, I'm going to go out and find a freight brokerage that takes on new agents. Now, in many cases, freight brokers don't bring on new agents, and there's a reason for that. There's a lot that goes into training a new agent. When I bring on a new agent, I have to introduce that agent to my systems. I have to teach him how I do business. I have to, show him how to work my TMS, show him how to work load boards. So I got to put a lot of time into that new agent. And in most times, you don't get that time back. With the time that you put into that agent, what ends up happening a lot of times is that agent, looks at it and says, man, this is going to be a lot of work. And I'm just not up for the work that I'm going to have to put into this in order to make it work. So here it is. I put all of this time into this agent, and now 3 weeks later, the agent is gone. So you put a lot of time into the agent and you don't get anything out of it. So that's why freight brokers don't typically bring on new agents. So that's where people come into this idea that, once you get finished with the training program, I'm going to place you with an agent. I'm not going to put you under mine freight brokerage. I'm going to place you with a different freight brokerage. Now, the problem with that is most times the freight brokerage, if they put you under the banner of another freight brokerage, that freight brokerage is not equipped to take on new agents. Usually it's a new freight brokerage or a freight brokerage that's not established yet. That freight brokerage probably is not even moving loads himself. And now he's going to bring you under his banner to start moving loads. And he really doesn't even have the infrastructure in place. He doesn't have the systems in place to teach you what you need to know in order to be effective as a new freight agent. So you are going to be in a situation where you're just trying to feel around and trying to figure it out on your own in most cases. That's why freight brokers don't typically bring on new agents, because there's a lot of work that goes into it and you don't get a lot out of it in most cases. So I want you to beware of anybody that tells you once you finish a training program, I'm going to place you somewhere else. Now, if that person is saying they're going to bring you under their own banner, that's a little bit different. Now, if you're coming under that freight broker's banner, then once you finish that training program, you go straight underneath that freight broker and you start moving loads under that particular freight broker. Now, that doesn't mean that you start moving loads right away. He has to teach you how to start bringing on customers and moving their loads. So there's a lot that goes into that. Now, we don't bring on new agents, every day. That's not something that we're doing all the time. We do that periodically because of the training that goes into it and the time that goes into it. So I want you to be very aware of anybody that tells you, once you finish a training program, I'm going to place you somewhere else. If they're saying, hey, once you finish that program, I'm going to bring you under my own banner, that's a little bit different. And even then, you still want to ask some questions. Hey, how long have you been moving freight? How long have you had your motor carrier authority and actually moving freight? How many loads do you move per month? What type of infrastructure do you have in place that supports me once I get out there and start moving loads? Because you have some freight brokers that don't have a freight factoring company. And when you don't have a freight factoring company, that means that I'm paying for the loads myself. And that's good. But when you first start out, if that's a new freight brokerage and he doesn't have a factoring company, then you're limited to the number of loads that you can move based on the number of loads that that freight broker can pay for. So we want to be very aware of what's happening in that process. Who are you working with? And you want to ask questions to make sure you understand what's going to happen when that training program is finished. Because a lot of times what ends up happening is they go out and find another freight brokerage for you to work with. Or they may have someone who's finished their program 2 months ago and now they're saying, hey, I'm going to put you under this freight brokerage that has 2 months in business. So now you know that that person doesn't have sufficient experience to teach you how to to move loads. He doesn't have the infrastructure in place that's going to support you when it comes down to moving those loads. So you want to be careful of that when you're talking about agent placement. I personally think that most people, if they're telling you that they're going to place you somewhere else, that's probably something that you want to steer clear of, because in most cases, the person or the freight brokerage that they're placing you under won't be able to support you as you need to be supported. Now, this is not a hand-holding thing where somebody's going to hold your hand and show you exactly every single step that you need to take, but you do need some support in place to be able to be effective as a freight broker. Now, if that freight broker doesn't have the proper infrastructure in place, then you're not going to have the support you need to be effective as a freight broker or a freight agent. So just be aware of that, and because I hear a lot, about new agents just finished a training program, and now once they finish that program, they're waiting for that broker to place them somewhere else. And then what end up happening is either they don't place them at all, or they place them under someone who doesn't have, the infrastructure in place to support that particular agent. As a matter of fact, when I first started my freight broker business 4 years ago, I only had about 3 months in business, and there was a person that was using my company saying that once you finished a training program, I'm going to place you under Alliance Logistics. Well, Alliance Logistics didn't have anything established for me at that particular time. I was just learning the process of moving loads on my own at that time. So I didn't have the infrastructure in place that was going to support a new agent. When I first looked at it, I said, wow, somebody thinks enough of, my company to put us out there and say, hey, I'm going to put you under this particular freight brokerage. And, when I first looked at it, we was excited about that. But then when I started to peel back the onion on it, I realized, no. We weren't ready to bring on new agents because we haven't, at that time, we hadn't done it long enough to be able to teach someone else how to do it. So when you are looking to go under a freight broker, you want to go under an established brokerage, and not necessarily one that has many years, doing freight brokerage, but someone who has experience in brokering freight, someone who knows what they're talking about. And you can take a look at it. You can see out there who's actually moving freight and who's not simply by what they're talking about. And also, if you don't see them moving freight, if I'm a freight broker, a lot of times you're going to see with us, we have where you go on our website and you sign up on our website, you sign up for 5 video series. And that 5 video series, I'm moving freight, showing you how it works. In a lot of cases, new freight brokers go under another broker who has never moved freight himself. So how is he going to teach you how to do it? So be very aware of this idea of agent placement. I'm not saying that all of them are, putting you with brokerages that are not experienced, but I am saying most times when you hear agent placement, be very aware, because in most cases, you're not going to be in a situation that's going to allow for you to, to be the best freight broker, the best freight agent that you can be. It's not going to have the support that you need to do your very best as a freight broker or freight agent. What you're going to need is a freight broker who has experience, who knows what he or she is doing, and who has systems, processes, and procedures in place that's going to support what it is that you're doing so that you can learn how to move freight and learn how to make money. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I certainly hope this has been helpful. Again, if you want to see this process and see how it works from A to Z, from the start to finish, from when you go in and first start talking to shippers, we're going to actually show you us talking to shippers and moving loads from in video 1 through video 5. You can go on our website, www.brandonthefreightbroker.com, and sign up on that website. When you sign up on the website, we're going to start sending you those videos out, and you can see the actual process and how it works. Now, currently, we aren't bringing on new agents. Our program is more geared toward people who are interested in starting their own freight brokerages right now. But we do periodically bring on new agents. But we're just not doing that right now. But, when we open our doors again to bring on new agents, And we'll certainly advise you via email if you've already signed up with us. And when that time comes, we'll be, ready to accept new agents, and you can come on and work under Alliance Logistics banner, or when that time comes. But it's not something that we do all the time, but we do bring on agents periodically. So that's what we wanted to share with you today. Hope this has been helpful. See you at the top, because the bottom is much too crowded.